Hello everyone, Gabe here from the Uplay team, not actually at Massive this time around, we're actually at Gamescom, and that means we have the awesome opportunity to talk to some people. In this video, we're actually sitting down to talk to Nvidia, and also, because it's the end of the month, it means it's giveaway time, so stick around to see what you can win and how to enter. As always, you'll find the announcement of the previous giveaway winner linked in the description below, but let's get to it.
All right, we are here at Gamescom, and I found someone who can tell us all about some nerdy things that relate to Nvidia. John, who are you and what do you do for Nvidia?
So hi, I'm John Story. I'm a DevTech manager in Western Europe, and I manage the DevTech engineers that work with games developers.
Fantastic. How's Gamescom going for you so far?
It's been fantastic. So on Monday, we had a press event with over 500 press where we talked about 7 different games, all supporting ray tracing, one of which, of course, was Watch Dogs Legion.
It's not subtle at all, but we're standing right in front of the Watch Dogs poster. Go figure. You have a relationship with that team. So can we talk more specifically about how that whole relationship's working out?
Yeah, so it's Ubisoft Kiev that we've been working with, and Ubisoft Kiev have been doing an amazing job of adding ray-traced reflections, and we're really impressed with the work that's been done so far. It's looking amazing. If you want some evidence of that, you can Google for it and take a look at some video trailers of ray-traced reflections in the center of London, reflecting all this beautiful glass and puddles and so on and so forth. Our team are in daily contact with the developers, and we're bouncing ideas off of each other to improve the quality and the performance of that technology, and we're looking forward to seeing it coming out in the game.
It actually makes me wonder now if London was chosen for its notoriously wet weather just so you could show off your reflections. Is that what's happened?
I think it was the other way around, actually. We realized that London was being used, and we thought, wow, that would be so cool for ray-traced reflections. So it was more that way around.
Okay, good to know.
It's a big factor, yeah. It's a cool location.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look super awesome. And you can even see in the poster behind us, like there's just a lot of reflective puddles, and having those reflections in there with all the lights, all the city lights are going to look insane.
Correct, yeah. It would be so difficult to do without real ray tracing. So how that actually works is a game typically, when it doesn't have that, uses some form of screen space reflections whereby they kind of shoot software rays into the depth buffer, but really you can only get reflections for the stuff that's on screen. And that's where it kind of falls apart. So you don't really see if in a mirror something that's actually behind the camera or off screen, above the screen. So ray traced reflections allows you to capture anything that's reflected, whether it's on screen or off. And that's really the big difference. And it's all physically accurate the way you'd expect it to work in the real world. So it's true to life reflections, and it makes a huge difference for the sort of immersion factor that you get in the game.
So you obviously have technical partnerships with a bunch of games. Can we go a little bit more in depth on how that whole relationship works?
Yeah, so obviously there's some synergy, right? It's a kind of almost like a matchmaking exercise. But as Nvidia, we want a game to look great and be fun to play. That's the basic raw ingredient that you need to have. We're looking for a game that has the ability to show off some new feature in our hardware, or just the ability to please gamers that buy GeForce cards. So that's the basic building block. Obviously, what we get as a company is we learn from every engagement that we have. So some of what I talked about earlier about applied research, where we're learning on the job when we're working with games developers, that's getting fed back to our hardware and architecture teams, and sometimes helps feed into our decision-making process for new bits of hardware. So it's a symbiotic relationship that we have with developers that's beneficial to developers and to Nvidia.
Okay, so when you're talking about developers, who are your main contacts in a studio? Do you work with a certain department, or are you more talking to different parts of different departments for different reasons?
So of course, because I'm on the engineering side, it's more sort of technical directors and lead programmers that we're talking to, and certainly the engineers in my team will be working directly with graphics programmers probably. So that's sort of the point of contact, and we sometimes go on site and spend weeks, even months on site in some occasions, and really have a very close collaboration. Of course, if you go outside of dev tech into more sort of developer relations, then they're dealing with producers and so on and so forth within the studios.
So with those relationships that you have, obviously you have to implement features in the game. What's the process for that?
So it starts with us agreeing on what features to actually put in the game. And that's done through a collaborative process. Obviously, the developer has some idea of what they would like adding. Is it going to be global illumination, reflections, shadows, whatever, or a combination of these things? And we internally need to decide, do those things make sense? is there going to be a big bang for the buck at the end of the day from those things? But we like to start early. So the earlier in the development process, the better. It doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes it comes in a little bit late, but that's the nature of the business. But then we have developers go in and work on site for, potentially weeks or months, but sometimes it's done off site too. It depends on the nature of the collaboration that we're doing. But as that feature starts to come towards maturity, then there's obviously a lot of testing involved, both at a performance side and also from QA. So we do an awful lot of testing to ensure that it's running in a stable fashion and at high performance and looking good. So yeah, that's pretty much the how it works.
Easy. You made. I'm guaranteed it's not. What's a day in the life of you at Nvidia? What kind of stuff do you get up to?
So because I manage a team, it's probably best to talk about what my team do, because that's the really exciting stuff. So those guys do a varied, different set of things. They do deep engagements with developers where they put in, ray tracing technology or other kinds of technologies. But they also do performance work, so they look at upcoming titles and try and get the bleeding edge performance that they can get out of those games. They also do things like applied research. So whilst they're working with developers, they're also learning and facing new problems and then therefore solving new problems. So they're developing new ideas, filing patents for those things as well. And then, of course, we like to talk about it. So we create blogs, we write presentations and go to conferences and present at conferences. So it's quite a varied job, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And my job is to make sure that at any one given time, we have the right engineers doing the right things.
What is Nvidia doing at Gamescom this year?
So we've had our main press event, which is on Monday. That was a whole day event. We had 500 press coming throughout the entire day from 9 o'clock till 7 o'clock in the evening. And they were getting a half an hour time slot with each game where they get to sit down and play the game for 20 minutes and actually capture their own gameplay experience, and then later they get to report on that and upload their captures. So that was the main big thing that we talked about there. We had Watch Dogs Legion and a bunch of other titles. Go and look on the internet to see the buzz that's been created around that.
All right, so obviously PC performance and the power that comes from largely GPUs is key to the player experience. I know that a lot of people, they're like, I need the best GPU tech that's out there. How are Nvidia looking at now and into the future to make sure that those shifting goalposts are met?
So I think the key thing is we have different vectors here. We have the hardware architecture guys who are always looking for, what are the next features we need to put into the GPU. Classic example of that would be ray tracing, and I think we can all sort of see now how that's shifting the boundary in terms of graphical quality. But in terms of performance, we obviously in dev tech, which is the area that I work in, we're very keen to look at upcoming shipping titles and how well they perform. So we have a whole team that will do a capture of a frame and then look at every single render pass in that frame and compare it across different video cards and have a look at which ones could do with performance optimization work. And we go right down to various hardware counters to see what's the speed of light for this particular part of the hardware. Is it performing well enough in this regime or not? So we go right down to the metal and take a really close look at that. And some of that goes back to the driver team if we think that actually that's something for the driver team to take a look at. Some of it goes back to the developer if we think the developer has got something to look at. So that's DevTech's role in that.
So you've been working at Nvidia for what, 7 years now?
7 years, yeah.
What would you say is your favorite moment from the time that you've spent working there?
So obviously we've been working on ray tracing hardware for a long time. It came out last year, but I was in the year winding up to that working on denoising technology for Shadow. So I've been deeply involved in how to denoise the noisy signal of ray tracing. And so I was working on all of that technology in the lead up to the launch of our first RTX cards. So going to that launch event and seeing those game titles launch with all their great technology in was really the pinnacle of work at Nvidia for me.
Do you have a folder on your computer that's just RTX on and RTX off?
Actually, sometimes yes. I do collect screenshots, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I have to ask, is there anything you can tell us that's coming up for Nvidia, or is that very much hush-hush for now?
Well, I think you've answered your own question there. I'm looking forward to some things. I'm looking forward to the release of Watch Dogs Legion and playing around London because I'm British, and it does look fantastic with all those reflective bits of architecture like the Shard and the Gherkin and so on. That I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, keep your ears to the ground and and look out for new thing coming. But yeah, can't talk about that, I'm afraid.
So confirmed, top secret tech is on the way, and it's going to be awesome. That's what I get from that.
That's what you got from it.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed that little chat. We did mention before that this is a giveaway, so if you want to enter to win an RTX 2070 Super, all you need to do is head over to our Twitter, which is linked in the description below, check out the pinned tweet, and follow the instructions to enter. We also had the chance to talk to some other pretty awesome people here at Gamescom, so you want to keep your eye out for those, as we'll be posting them in the coming weeks. But until then, we'll see you next time.